Our resource for this month is the San Diego Twins Club Facebook group affiliated with Multiples of America. It used to be a paid group, but is now transitioning more to a free social group where parents can connect with other local twin parents. The club regularly hosts events including seasonal parties, play groups, parent night out, and more. At these events, parents are able to find camaraderie with an understanding of the unique challenges and joys of raising multiples. Find the link in our show notes. To ensure our podcast remains relevant and engaging, we'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, insights, or want to connect, leave an email, voicemail, post a comment, or message us on Instagram to be entered into a raffle to win a book from our library.
Woo.
This month's book is The Whole Brain Child, 12 Revolutionary Strategies to Nurture Your Child's Developing Mind by Daniel Siegal and Tina Bryson in English and Spanish. You can reach us by email at sel@sdcoe.net. Leave a voice message at 858-292-3599 or message us at Parenting the Whole Child Podcast on Instagram. If you haven't done so, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss an episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Parenting the Whole Child podcast.
Woo-woo!
Yay!
We're actually episode 4 now.
Oh, yeah, Episode 4. Oh, my gosh, I'm a little behind.
It's okay. We have great guests today. Janelle, you want to introduce our first guest?
Yes. Okay, so we have Christopher Stevens. He is... Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Felicia.
He's the coordinator for the System of Support for Expanded Learning at the San Diego County Office of Education. In this role, he supports districts and program providers across the region by promoting promising practices, strengthening site quality through the 12 quality standards for expanded learning in California, and offering targeted technical assistance. A veteran school administrator and educator, Christopher has experience teaching from preschool through high school and leading a wide range of programs, including summer school, before and after school care, and expanded learning initiatives. He brings a systems-level perspective shaped by years in educational leadership, where he fostered community partnerships, led programmatic transformation, and championed equity-focused learning environments. His work is grounded in a deep commitment to continuous improvement and inclusive student-centered practices. He is the proud parent of a 9-year-old daughter and identical twin 7-year-old boys.
Wow. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for
Chris.
having me.
We also have Edna Murillo, a school social worker with over 20 years of experience who serves as a program specialist at SDCOE, expanding social work services countywide. Formerly a student services coordinator for Alpine Union and DEHESA, she implemented MTSS, PBIS, and developed a school social work program. Passionate about equity and supporting rural and low-income communities, Edna's journey to motherhood reflects her resilience and hope. After overcoming infertility, she welcomed her daughter and later fulfilled her childhood dream of having twins,
Wow.
Alejandro and Olivia. Now a proud mom of 3 under 2, Edna describes life as joyful, chaotic, and deeply fulfilling, often saying she wishes she had 2 sets of twins.
Oh my gosh.
Are we ready to jump into the questions?
Yes.
We are.
I'm
Just
looking forward to the stark difference in our answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have one slight correction.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
At one point, I had 3 under 2. They are all in high school now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, 3 high schoolers now, so triple the challenge.
Yay. Are we ready to jump into the questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
let's dive
So
in.
question number 1. What was your journey to becoming a parent of twins? And how did it differ from your experience with a single child?
Mm.
I'll go first, Edna? Okay. I will go first. I mean, has my name first every time. I can't keep that.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Just alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Um, like Edna shared, we also had difficulty conceiving and before our first daughter. And then we had our first daughter after being told we probably wouldn't conceive without assistance, but then we ended up having our first daughter without assistance. And then, unfortunately experienced a miscarriage after Dana was born. And then we're contemplating just carrying on with one child. My wife and I had been married for about, I think, 8 years before deciding we even wanted to have kids. I've worked with kids my entire life, and I know that it's a huge sacrifice to be a parent, and I wanted to be very intentional about that decision, as well as my wife did too. And so we were okay not having kids. And then we kind of felt like, okay, well, yeah, let's go ahead and have kids. But we only want one, maybe two kids, was like from the get-go. And so then when we had the miscarriage, we thought, okay, well, maybe not, even bother. We'll just stick with the one. But then even through that conversation, she was already pregnant. And then she was told, we were told during the first appointment, during the first ultrasound, that there was only one. And I remember the doctor's quote. She said, "Let me look around and see if there's another." And then she said, "Nope, just the one." And okay, moving forward. And then it wasn't until the 13 or 14 week NT ultrasound when we were at that appointment. I was there sitting beside her, and the doc's doing all the things and measuring, and I see not the doc, but the ultrasound tech. I see the tech look at the screen, look back at her notes, look at the screen, look back at her notes, and then look at Debbie and goes, "You're having twins, right?"
Oh, gosh.
And Debbie looks at her. Her eyes get wide, and she says, "Look me in the eyes and say that." I was like, whoa. And then the ultrasound says, yeah, I have to go get a doctor. And she left the room, went and got a doctor. A doctor came back, grabbed the ultrasound thing and looked around and said, "Yeah, you're having twins." And that was like kind of the journey of becoming the parent of twins. There were a lot of medical concerns. It was a very difficult journey. At one point in the pregnancy, we were told there was a 33% chance that one or both of our twins would have Down syndrome. We had to do a lot of testing for that, including amniocentesis. And then after that, they felt like they might have hit the same sac twice, and that's because the twins ended up being identical twins in separate sacs, which is pretty rare. The zygote
Crazy.
or whatever split into two before implanting in the womb. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beginning of it. And then the journey now, the boys are 7. I distinctly remember when they turned 5, being able to breathe a huge sigh of relief. Both my wife and I, she and I both had a difficult time adjusting to 3 kids. Like I stated, we only wanted 2 kids. I've secretly, and she knows this, I've secretly always thought it would be really cool to have identical twins. So
Wow.
I was a little bit more okay with it. And, I had jokingly said that at one point in time early on, and then that happened. And so she fully blames me. But then the first 5 years were hard. It was really, really hard. There was a lot of, it was difficult. And I especially remember the first 6 months being very, very treacherous. But now we're in an amazing place. We're both very grateful for, what we have and our family and everything else that we're blessed with.
Man. Thanks for
Wow, what
sharing.
a story.
Yeah.
I don't know
Edna?
that I can follow that. He's such a good storyteller. So early on in my youth, I found out I was going to have infertility challenge. I knew that on really, really on. But since I was a little kid, I always dreamed about having twins. And everybody laughed, and everybody tell me, "There's no twins in our family. How are you?" And I said, just deep in my heart, I really, really, really want twins. So I got married a little bit later, and I was in almost 30. And then we had our challenges with infertility. It took us about 3 years. Had a miscarriage halfway through the pregnancy, and then we did have a single child. So we were so excited to finally have a child. But it had taken us over 3 years of just treatment, and it was ongoing. And we used to call it the monkey dance because, you're under treatment and you're going through all these rituals and doctor appointments. And then finally you get to the point where they check to see if you're pregnant. They say, yep, no, you're not pregnant. But we start the dance all over again tomorrow. And so we had gone through that for years, and it was really, really stressful and really hard. So as soon as we had our first daughter, I knew I wanted more. So the doctor had told me, well, after the first birth, after your third or fourth month is when you're the most fertile. So I'm like, wait, I'm going to go right back in. And she said, no, I think you need to wait. You had a C-section. You need to heal. Give it at least a year. And I gave it exactly. At a year mark, I was back in the doctor's office, and the first time it took, we got pregnant with the twins. And I remember we went in, and she said, your numbers don't look right, something in the blood work. She says, I only see one, but the numbers don't match. Come back. I think you may have more in there. Oh. And I was ecstatic. I just went crazy. Came back 3 days later, and they said, yep, she's tiny. But, well, at the time we didn't know it was she, but she says, there's one more, a tiny little one. She said, there's one more. So there was two in there. So we were really, really excited. So that's how we ended up getting our twins. And right off the back, one was a little bit larger than the other, which was the boy. He was a 6-pounder. And then the little girl was a 4-pounder, but from the very beginning, she was tiny. So the joke was we called our boy Hefty because the technician, as he's measuring, he says, oh, you've got a hefty one in there. And so for months, we just called him Hefty. He didn't have a name. And so we named the girl, but the boy was named Hefty throughout the pregnancy. And then when it was time to name him, that was the hardest thing because we had called him Hefty, and I said, I can't name him Hefty. So
you cannot.
Yeah. And and it wouldn't match. He's really tall and skinny, and that Hefty wouldn't have matched him. But he ended up getting what I said to my husband, the next person that walks in the door, whatever name they give me, that's what we're going to name him. And so Grandpa walked in and said, Alejandro. And I said, Alejandro it is.
Oh, my gosh.
You get a name in your head of what you're going to name your child. And I just couldn't steer away from Hefty, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
So how is that experience having twins differ from having your one child at the beginning for both of you?
I mean, super different. The one child, especially when it's your first, it's your only child.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I joke that a lot of times people who have just the one child, it's more like an accessory. It's this thing you spend so much time on. You dress it up a certain way. You write all the things in the baby book. You find every milestone. You track everything. Right now, I could not tell you either of my boys' first words. Couldn't tell you when they walked. Couldn't tell you what their first words were. Couldn't tell you anything. But I could tell you all those things about my daughter because it was the only thing we were focused on. It was that and that alone. So I think it's very different. And also for my wife, who breastfed all three of our children, breastfeeding our firstborn was like a joy. It was a bonding time. It was something that she treasured, and she had the comfy chair and the ottoman that rocked back and forth, and just everything kind of set up exactly how she wanted it. And then with the boys, it was a job. I remember her saying, I feel like a milk cow.
Wow.
It was a chore. It was not enjoyable. The pumping that was involved, the inadequacy of the feeling like I'm not producing enough. Thankfully, there's groups out there of people donating milk. We would take milk donations, all those things. It was night and day different.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think I would piggyback on that too with, when it is the first, it's the novelty. And you also have 2 to 1, 2 parents to 1 kid, and you're really excited, and you can take turns.
Yeah.
For me, when we had the twins, we were really excited. We were blessed to have a lot of help. But to be honest, I shooed away the help because my home was already chaotic,
Mm.
right? I had one that was under 2, and then I had the 2, and then they went to the NIC unit, the twins, when they were born. So we didn't get to bring them home at the same time. So even transitioning my other child with the new one, she was excited about the first baby that came home, but I clearly remember the day the second baby came home. She's looking at it like, "What is this? More babies?" You know. So it does. There is some excitement and some joys, and we got a lot of celebration. And they were the only twins in the family, but there was a lot of. It's a task. I would forget to feed one of the kids, right? Or like the oldest would sometimes get forgotten, or it had to be ritualistic to make sure that you changed the diaper, you fed the one, you didn't forget to do this for the one, or didn't forget to do. You had to be really organized.
Yeah, and I know Edna and I have had the opportunity to talk before, and it's interesting just like hearing how different our experiences were, and a large part of that I think is because of the expectation going in. Right, we have identical twins, random happenstance. Right, that's not a predicted thing. Fraternal twins are something that the chance of that increases when you go on fertility. We only wanted 2 kids. Edna was fine with more kids, right? So her outlook upon having twins was already positive, right?
Right.
It was expected. It was an understood possibility, and they were down for more kids, right? But for us, it was very different, and so it just kind of like tells you that your outlook going into something can really affect your results in it. It's really hard to change your positive outlook when you've got twins in that moment. But just like
100%.
reflecting back, it really does line up with like why our experiences are so different. Like she highlights the joy of that. I'm talking about the shock of that.
It's true.
Interesting piece there.
I think that really plays into it because your mind has to prep. Like you said, you found out you had one, and then you come back later, you've been thinking about the one, and all of a sudden there's 2. Like, what does that look like? And, I know that when they found the second, I kept telling the doctor, because I had wanted 4 kids, look for a third, look for a third.
Oh my gosh.
But again, right, the mindset, I really wanted to have 4 children.
Wow.
I had struggled for years. So if I was going to be able to just throw one more in the mix and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't foreseeing the future, how it all would later pan out. But I think that really plays into it, because I do remember saying, look for a third, look for a third. And my husband was like, are you crazy? And I was like, come on, just one more. What's one more?
Oh man.
One more is a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah. And I'm going to just say you all give a whole new meaning to BOGO. Buy one.
Oh my God, totally.
Please.
Totally.
I mean, I could not imagine, right? And, Chris, we have a lot in common. I was a kindergarten teacher for a long time, but, those babies went home. So the thought that, I love the reality check that you both are providing. And like you said, Chris, someone who was completely shocked and someone who wanted them
Yeah.
had the same kind of challenges. So that was our next question. We've addressed some of the challenges. Um, but wow, what a story. And fun sample fact, on our team, we have Chris with identical twins. We have Edna with fraternal twins. And we have another team member who has mirror twins, which means that they're like looking at themselves in the mirror. So one is right-handed, one
Crazy.
is left-handed. So I'm just glad I'm done having children, because I don't want to be around all these people having these multiples.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But on that vein, I know we've talked about the challenges, and I love that real talk, but can you give us a couple of the joys of what what it means? I love seeing multiples out and about, but I know there's something behind the curtain. But share with us some of the joys of having multiples.
I have Edna go first.
Well, it's always double the love and double the fun. I mean, it's always an adventure, because I'm always going to be outnumbered. So you don't know what you're going to get. So that's kind of, for me, the excitement. I think just they always have a buddy. I remember when I call her my youngest, but the twin girl had harder times learning how to ride her bike. And, mom and dad were taking pride in being the parent that was going to help her. And she says, no,
Oh.
I don't want either of you helping me. I want twin brother. So I think that having that connection, and I always see how the two of them have each other. They have an older sibling and they have parents, but they seek each other out. So it's really nice to see that connection. And it's probably going to sound like I'm lying, but I walked into my kitchen one time and I don't know where they got the idea. I had my boy in 4 on his 4, he's on his knees and hands, and the little girl was on his back trying to reach something on the counter.
Oh my gosh.
And they were little. They must have been like 2 years old. Where they got that idea, I don't know. But the fact that they can always team up, and you're always like so surprised and amazed at what the two can do and how they rely on each other in ways that I wouldn't have thought, or I didn't see it with their other siblings.
Yeah, because like in my case, I have 3, but they're all different ages, right? You're really working hard as a parent to get them to bond and connect. And that's a challenge in every stage of like the different ages. Whereas with twins, I feel maybe there's just that easy connection of just being loving and understanding towards one another versus having to do that when you have more than one kid, but they're different ages.
And now that they're older, they conspire against me. Sometimes I don't even think they really think about it. I think they just
Comes naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. And then I'd add in that the identical twin piece is super cute to dress them up. I mean, for Halloween, thing 1 and thing 2.
Oh my gosh.
Just all those different opportunities. And I mean, seeing boys in like matching like Easter attire with like the bow ties, like, and just walking in, it's like they automatically own the place just because they're like adorable, identical twin boys. There's a lot of like fun little joys like that. And to Janelle's point of like the bond, they have a bond that I will never understand in terms of their just innate connection. They are very physical. They're put them in wrestling about 1.5 years ago because they would constantly wrestle and injure each other. Now they wrestle and nobody gets injured. So that was goal accomplished there. But I've heard that a lot of twins make great wrestlers because they always have a sparring partner. My boys absolutely did the same thing that Edna just talked about getting on top of each other to get something and where that comes from. And yeah, it was super young. And it was just like, and I don't know if like they even realized they were climbing on a person or climbing on a box, but the fact is that they were doing it. So yeah, a lot of really cute things, a lot of great pictures, you know, and thankfully you typically take pictures of the joyous occasions, right? That's the whole social media piece right there. You're capturing those awesome moments. And so when that's coming up on your like whatever your feed or however it's coming up for you, right? You're being reminded of those, just the sparks of joy that were always there, but you maybe didn't appreciate because you were also struggling so much. So yeah, those pieces are absolutely a part of it.
Interesting. Okay. Next question. How have schools, family, or society treated your twins, especially when it comes to identity, expectations, or gender?
I think mine's pretty easy. My boys look very alike, and there automatically is this expectation that they're going to be alike. And there's always like these people, oh wow, your boys are so different. And it's like, well, yeah, like, I mean, I get it. They've got identical nature and basically identical nurture, but there's an X factor in there that doesn't fall under nature or nurture when it comes to identical twins because they are so drastically different. I mean, one of my boys is clearly a Slytherin and the other is clearly a Hufflepuff. And you're not going to get much more different than that.
That's too funny.
And they showcase it regularly. So I can't, you know, I think that's the quickest thing that comes to mind on that.
I think twins, when they walk into a room and you know they're twins, they automatically get attention. right?
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
So I think that's something that comes natural to twins where they are used to a little bit more of the attention. For my twins, they don't look at all alike. They are polar opposite. Gender-wise, one's a boy, one's a girl. The boy is very thin, tall, fair skin with spiky hair, and then the girl is short, round, a little bit darker, and has the curliest hair. Um, so people don't usually know they were twins until we mention it, but once they mention it, they definitely get a lot of attention, and we get a lot of the questions. So I think that comes in to play instantly, like just the concept of twins. I mean, mine don't even look like. If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have an idea because of the height difference too. You would
Yeah.
think that they're just siblings.
So in school, it wasn't necessarily difficult where, you had to guide the teacher of kind of making sure they had their separate identity because that just already took place.
I think naturally, yeah. I don't think that naturally came where people just saw them and treated them as twins. They were in the same classroom, and so when one had struggles, the other one would naturally just come in and soothe. Um, no, I don't think that really happened to them because they don't look alike.
Yeah.
But I do think that for me, I had to make the conscious choice to not talk about twins so much
Oh.
and let them have their own identity. And now that they're older and they're in different schools, I don't even think we talk about them being twins as much. But it's something that they take pride in.
Yeah.
They like saying she's my twin
Yeah.
when they get introduced because there's an instant attention that comes in curiosity and it eases social interaction.
I know prior to this podcast, we were talking about your boy and your girl and why you had to separate them in school. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, I can share. So they had been in classrooms all the way up through 7th grade in the same class. And then they ended up transferring over to a school, and because the little girl had an IEP, she wasn't accepted into the school, but the boy did. So then we did have to have a big family discussion, and it went on for a while, to keep them together and not give the boy the opportunity or to separate them. And so we ended up with opting to give each their own opportunities and helping them find their own way in the world as individuals. It was a very difficult situation for the little girl to understand that she didn't get in because of her IEP. But in the end, I think after we got through those tearful nights and difficult times, I think she's really thriving in being her own individual. She's not a shadow of her brother or even of the concept of the twins. Like I see her come out of her room and her fashion style is coming through and her personality and her interests. And I think now that they're in separate schools and different circles, she does feel like an individual versus being a twin. And so I think in the end it worked out for them, but it was a really big decision and it was a painful one to make. Well, I don't know. We'll see in the end how it all pans out.
Yeah. And I'm sure, Chris, your situation will be different too as they get older,
Yeah, we intentionally split them up in their
Okay.
3-year-old class and their 4-year-old class because they were fighting so much
Oh.
at home. And it was just something like, we need to give these kids some space. And then they were together in kindergarten because the school that the boys went to for kindergarten only had the one class, and there were only 8 kids in it. It was, the daycare that they had continued in. And that was a great experience, and they did fine on the home front. And then we asked them, they, went into the public school for 1st grade this year, and we asked them, do you want to be separated? Do you want to be together? And there was a whole big thing there because I went on separate walks with them to talk to them because I didn't want their answers to be tainted. And they were really like, why do we have to go on a separate walk? We want to go together. I was like, because I just want to have a conversation with one of you. But why? They didn't register to them that they could also go somewhere separate. They play every sport together. They do wrestling together. They do soccer together. They do baseball together. All the things are always together. They're invited to birthdays together. They have a shared birthday party where they invite people to their birthday party. But point being, next year we'll do the same thing. We'll have a conversation with each of them individually. Do you want to be separate or do you want to be together? My wife literally just this morning, she said, I think I want to separate them next year. I was like, oh yeah, why is that? And she was like, I don't know. I really want them to be able to grow into their own identity. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's fair. I mean, not that I would ever use this as a reason not to, but we do know that will be more work, right? Because that's going to be like yet another teacher to layer into that whole thing.
Saying that was one of the main reasons I ended up keeping them together. It was sanity for me because in kindergarten, they ended up initially, they started together, then they moved classes and they ended up in separate rooms. And trying to stay afloat, right? You have other kids and you have the twins and you have all these teachers and all these. So I assumed,
field trips and the assignments.
So I assumed that both kinder teachers were teaching the same thing. And I would make copies of the packet because, again, my little girl was kind of on left field. She wouldn't bring anything home. So I said, okay, no worries. I'll make copies of the brother's packet. And both are in kindergarten, same school. They'll do the same homework. So throughout the year, she kept turning in these homework packets that didn't match the class. The teacher never said anything to me till the very end. And then I realized they were learning different things. And so, yes, the different field trips, the different events. And so for sanity purposes, see, mine weren't identical either. So they were always seen as individual because they look different.
Right.
So but for my sanity, they stayed in the same class because then there was one teacher, one schedule, one homework, one.
Yes.
Yeah. Back to school night, running around all the different classes.
No, but I really like what Chris did where he not interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I had a talk with each of them individually so that he can figure out what they wanted and they can grow to their own identity of who they are and establish that. That's very important. A good tip.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into our next question is what do people often misunderstand about parenting twins, and what advice would you give someone who's expecting multiples?
I think the phrase that I used with my boys last night when they were fighting that they needed to fold their laundry and put it away, and they were, wrestling on the floor and fighting and pushing each other because that's more enjoyable than doing laundry. And I said to them, you two together are greater than the sum of your parts, right? It's a great phrase for like work, but I had never thought about that on the home front, right? And I think a lot of times people don't understand that also the amount of work to parenting twins is greater than the sum of its parts. You're not just parenting two kids 10 months apart. You're parenting twins, and it's a heavy lift. And I think, a lot of times my wife would say, like, the thing she hated hearing the most was, oh, double blessings. That's so great. And she would just die inside and try to be like generous and just be like, oh, okay, thank you. But like, then I'd hear it in the car every time, because people don't understand. Like, it depends on, again, going back to that Outlook piece.
Right.
So like what you've signed up for. I'm sure Edna would have been fine if somebody said double blessings. She probably says it herself.
I said it earlier. Double love, double.
Exactly. But for us, like that's just not the case. And I think it's weird how often we say something with like genuine care and thinking that it's going to come across a certain way, and it comes across the exact opposite for some people. And it's kind of like when somebody's pregnant and they're doing an announcement, but at the same time they're acknowledging that like for some people they're going to hear that their friend is pregnant and they're going to feel bad because maybe they've had 6 miscarriages or whatever, and so just acknowledging that not everybody receives the same news and the same pieces the same way.
And has the same outlook.
Yeah, yeah.
That's actually good advice for anybody, Chris.
Sure.
So, for us who are thinking we're sending well wishes or bestowing blessings on people, like just be quiet. Love that, essentially.
and the thing of advice, interesting that Edna said the opposite earlier, which was, she wanted everybody out of her house. But one of the pieces of advice that we got was there's nobody visiting your kids. Like nobody is coming to visit. Anybody that walks in that door is there to help, and you put them to work. And we took that to heart when somebody said that. And literally, like anybody that walked into work, oh, can I do anything? Yeah, you sure can. There's dishes over there. There's bottles here. There's dog mess in the backyard. Like there is a list of things that you can absolutely do. So that was a piece of advice that we were given that we took to heart, and it worked well for us. So I would say nobody walking into your house is just there to visit. Yeah. They're there to help.
Love that. I love that.
You know, one of our current coworkers, Anna and I were friends back when, and we were having children at the same time. And I remember she came to visit, and she was holding one of the kids, and she says, Edna, these children's nails, you haven't trimmed their nails. And I was like, oh, I'll get you a nail clipper.
Exactly.
And we talk about that now, you know. We laugh about it because I was like, yeah, there's no problems. I think for me, it was, like I said, a little bit of the opposite. I felt like it was a lot of chaos. And my mother-in-law is very traditional Latin Mexican, and my mother-in-law lived about 2 hours away. So they wanted to be really involved. But for me, it was just really chaotic. So what ended up working for me is really just sitting down with my husband and thinking about how are we going to navigate this? Because yes, the novelty is they're cute and they're young right now, but eventually they will leave, and we need to figure out how we're going to get through the night. So for me, it was really pairing up with my husband and disregarding cultural norms and gender norms, and just figuring out how are we going to navigate this process, because it's a lot of work. So we did it that way. We did welcome people to visit every so often, but there were times where I did have to say, Mom, you got to go home. Mother-in-law, thank you, but we have to figure it out.
I commend your bravery.
I think also you shared, like, because the twins got all the attention, the oldest daughter didn't. You want to share about that?
So I think always remembering that you have your other child. And I think this is where I think about, for me, of course, I wanted more children, and it was going to be such a challenge. So I wanted the multiples. And I was a little bit more prepared for that. However, my daughter will say, you have dad and the twins have each other, but I don't have anybody. So remembering that you have a single who doesn't get that attention because she's not a twin. I always feel like, even though my twins look so different and there's always different things going on, just the concept of twins, people naturally gravitate towards that. And so inadvertently they kind of push aside my other. And I remember a time where somebody was praising my twin girl for her glasses. And my older had just gotten glasses, and she's standing behind her and she's fixing her little glasses. And nobody said anything about her glasses. And so it happened over and over and over. So just remembering to share the light.
I have two things that come to mind there. One is right in line with that, and that is my daughter came to us probably about a year ago and was like, I have nobody to sleep with. And we're like, what do you mean you have nobody to sleep with? And says to my wife, you sleep with dad, and brothers sleep with each other, and I'm alone in my room. And I was like, oh God, that tore my heart. But then on the flip side, my daughter gets invited to so many more things than my sons do, because my sons are like a 2-for-1 package, right?
That
like
makes sense. Yeah.
My daughter by the age of 7 had probably done overnighters at like 6 friends' houses. My boys still have never been invited to an overnighter at anybody's house, and so they're very limited. Like they've slept only at family's house when like we needed somebody to take care of the boys overnight, but they've never been invited over for an overnighter. So
double the trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's that. Yep.
Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing such real and powerful reflections. Parenting twins isn't just about double the diapers, double the car seats, double the fighting, double birthday cake. It's double navigating identity, systems, and expectations. And the heart of it all is deep love and evolving sense of self for both parents and children. If today's episode resonated with you, or if you have a twin story of your own, we'd love to hear it. Until next time, friends. Take care and stay
Yes.
connected.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.